Hello, I am Pastor Barbara Crum, and I serve the Lord at the congregation of Martin Luther Evangelical Lutheran Church in Bergton, Virginia. This Sunday and every Sunday for the foreseeable future, we are planning to have outdoor, in-person worship as long as the weather holds, which brings to mind this particular Sunday on which it may be raining, in which case we would have to cancel that service. So keep that in mind if you would like to come out and join us. Remember that we are outdoors. We do practice social distancing as well as wearing masks. And now let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship. For this 19th Sunday after Pentecost, we hear from the Gospel of St. Matthew, the 22nd chapter. Once more, Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his slaves to call those who had been invited to the wedding banquet, but they would not come. Again, he sent other slaves, saying, 'Tell those who have been invited, look, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet.' But they made light of it and went away, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his slaves, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his troops, destroyed those murderers, and burned their city. Then he said to his slaves, 'The wedding is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore into the main streets and invite everyone you find to the wedding banquet.' Those slaves went out into the streets and gathered all whom they found, both good and bad. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he noticed a man there who was not wearing a wedding robe. And he said to him, 'Friend, how did you get in here without a wedding robe?' And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, 'Bind him hand and foot and throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen.' The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. What did you wear the last time you went to a wedding as a guest? Do you have something tucked in the back of your closet in case a wedding or some other fancy occasion comes up? I know I put a certain level of thought into what to wear for a given occasion, and I know that for weddings there are some considerations for women, like not wearing white because that would usually be the bride's color, and making sure your shoes will be appropriate for whatever walking or dancing you might be doing. And I learned that one the hard way. You want to look nice to honor the couple who are getting married. Dale would normally wear a suit of some kind, and at the last wedding we attended, I think I may have worn a matching skirt and jacket, a suit. It was an outdoor event with dinner following the ceremony inside a tent because it was raining and there was no dancing, but everybody was appropriately dressed, men and women, children and grandparents. In the parable we heard today, at the very end, there's an issue over proper attire at a wedding. Just when we think the king in the story has successfully filled his banquet hall with guests gathered off the streets, and all will be happy ever after, he spies one man not properly dressed. That guy, he really sticks out. He's not wearing the wedding garment. We're not sure what that might have been exactly. Translations range from simply garment or clothes to robe or cloak which would have covered up their own clothes, whatever that might be. Now we know where this last batch of guests came from, and we know they were not the first choices for such a banquet, and probably they didn't have the appropriate attire in their closets, even if they had closets. So most scholars agree that the king had provided garments for them at the gate so that they would be appropriately and festively dressed for the occasion. But this man was not wearing the clothes that had been provided. And in what seems an extreme overreaction, the king furiously has the man tied up hand and foot and tossed back out into the street, the outer darkness. Not surprising there should be weeping and gnashing of teeth there. Just when we can identify with the new batch of guests from off the streets who accept the king's invitation and come into the banquet where we might enjoy the feast like the one described by Isaiah, a feast of rich food, a feast of well-aged wines, the man's harsh treatment, being bound and cast into the outer darkness, doesn't seem like the loving God of grace that we think we know. What's going on? God doesn't invite you to the banquet without giving you what you will need to attend. And God doesn't do it because you deserve it. God doesn't do it even because you asked for it. God just does it out of love. That's our God of grace. So when the speechless man isn't wearing a wedding robe, it's because he has rejected it. He left it back there in the bushes. He's done the same thing the first guest did. He has dishonored the king by rejecting or just not considering the importance of the wedding robe. And really, he's even less respectful because he is presumed to appear at the banquet without the wedding robe, like it didn't matter. He made light of it. He blew it off, just like the first guests. And he is speechless. He doesn't respond to the king. He doesn't answer him. He doesn't attempt to explain or try even to make a connection with him. Theologian N.T. Wright tells us the point in the parable. Jesus is telling the truth that political and religious leaders often like to hide, the truth that God's kingdom is a kingdom in which love and justice and truth and mercy and holiness reign unhindered. They are the clothes you need to wear for the wedding. And if you refuse to put them on, you are saying you don't want to stay at the party. That is the reality. As Jesus says at the end, many are called, but few are chosen. Everyone had been invited to the wedding banquet, good and bad. Everyone hearing the invitation is invited to be a part of God's kingdom. But not everyone will attend, and not all who attend will be staying. Not everyone is willing to put on the garment and believe they are really at the banquet. But it is still open to all. The wedding feast will go on, and there's no admission fee. All is provided with love, and in love we can wear that wedding garment with joy and dance. Amen.